Okay, looks like we are officially live. So, welcome to this week's edition of Talk About It Tuesday. And I have a special guest in the program here for the first time. And I told her before we got on the broadcast I was going to want to call her Brandi Branca, but she recently got married. So it's Brandi Kordelewski. I said it wrong anyway. I told you I was going to say Kordelewski instead of Kordelewski. So wanted to welcome you to the program, Brandi. So thanks for joining us tonight. How we doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we thought it'd be a perfect opportunity with the PWBA season getting ready to kind of roll up here before you know it in May, and thought we'd have you on the program to talk about the brand new Columbia 300 Speed. So as individuals are coming on, just give us the thumbs up on the comments section that you can hear us loud and clear. And then Brandi and I are going to talk a little bit about this ball and kind of get her impressions. But as you guys are coming in, I always love to go over stats with players. So obviously Brandi is an extremely accomplished player. So from her background, she was a All-American, bowled for McKendree. Believe you guys had a national championship maybe during your stay in McKendree or NAIA?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, NAIA my junior year.
Obviously, you yourself have gone into the coaching ranks as now you are the head coach of Maryville, which is pretty much right next door, I believe, to McKendree, correct? You're right around the same area?
Yep. So we're on the Missouri side, about like 45 minutes from McKendree.
Okay. So still kind of in the same area, pretty good. PWBA, you've had a good career to start your young career here. Obviously, back in 2017, you took home a second at Sonoma. 2019, another second place was at a regional, I believe, was Hartford, I believe was it. And then
Yes.
2018, best major finish so far was 7th at the USBC Queens, which we all know Queens and the Masters going on right now is just an absolutely grueling tournament to try to go that far and deep. So
yes.
And then, during your Queens run, did you hit the losers bracket early, or were you kind of in the contenders bracket the whole time?
So I hit the losers bracket early, so I had to work my way up.
Yeah, that's tough coming from that bottom bracket. It's a lot of bowling.
A lot of bowling.
And then most recently, I think one of the coolest things, and probably a good award for you, is kind of breaking that 2020, 2021. You had the national high series for a female with 868. And what ball was that with, Brandi?
It was the Hammer Web MB.
The MB.
Yep.
Very popular ball in that line. So looks like everybody can hear us really well. So first I'm going to go over, I'm just going to give the general specs for the individuals out there so they can kind of hear about the ball. So this release is quite unique. It is a completely different core and cover combination being offered from the Columbia brand for the first time. So it is a hybrid cover stock, which has the Formula One cover, very similar to the older ERT covers that we saw in some of the older Hopkinsville balls and some releases from them. They put a brand new shifter core in this, which the numbers are 2478, 050, and 015, so quite a bit of asymmetry to it. And they have dynamic core inside of this one as well, so hybrid cover stock. It's making noise already, obviously. It's won the TOC tournament, and hopefully it's going to win one for Brandi coming up here in the PWBA campaign. But, the other things that we talk about sometimes with the cover stock, the intention of the ball, before we ask Brandi kind of what her first thoughts are, is they wanted to create a ball motion that was essentially going to be a really good complement to the power torque. So the power torque was very, very popular, very clean release for us. And just looking for a motion that was going to complement it when maybe the power torque seems a little clean. You got a little more traction through the entire part of the lane with the speed, one being the asymmetry and then the hybrid cover stock. So, Brandi, your first thoughts on the ball. Have you gotten a chance to throw this one quite a bit?
So, yeah, I actually shot 800 with it a couple weeks ago, actually.
800 and just league setting, tournament play?
League setting. It was actually my Wednesday night league that I shot my 868 in.
Yeah, that's 868 is just hard for me to fathom. It's just too much striking for me. I'm pretty excited when I shoot 720, 730 anymore. So, talk through us a little bit, like where this one kind of fits in your arsenal and what you're seeing out of this so far.
Yeah, so like you talked about the power torque. For me, my power torque is very clean. I usually can play more straighter angles with it. And with my Columbia Speed, obviously it's a bigger ball, asymmetrical. And for mine, it starts earlier, reads the mid lanes very well, and it's very continuous off the pattern. And sometimes, usually, big balls scare me a little bit.
Mhm.
But this one, I felt very comfortable with it. And I'm excited to throw it a little bit more.
And I think where Brandy's going with this, like a little scared of the bigger balls. So Brandy, your release, everybody's release being differently, and certain balls match up to your eye better. Normally, I would assume you kind of migrate maybe more to the symmetrical balls or the cleaner cover stocks. What was the difference you saw with this? Just it gave you a smoother look with a hybrid cover stock, or what do you think was the so far of what you're seeing out of it is making it match your eye a little better?
Yeah. So for people that really don't know my style, I'm more of a straighter player. So you are correct. The symmetrical balls, actually, the mid performance balls are what I prefer. But with this ball, I actually threw it in my sports shot league. I bowl in a sports shot league on Monday nights. And I believe it was a 42, 43 foot pattern. And I was able to create more of an angle at it and use more of the lane. So it was great to see because compared to my 3D offset, the hammer one, I had to
Mhm.
be more straight with it. With the Columbia 300 Speed, I could play a little bit deeper and create those bigger angles, which I really liked.
Right. And that, obviously when you get the higher volumes of oil off of the actual house patterns and you get into a little bit more tournament play, I would feel this will come more into play there than it would in the house setting, obviously. But you shot 800 with it in house, so it must be doing something that's pretty comparable for it. I have personally not gotten a chance to put holes in this one yet, but I have. But I mean, for your bag, so I'm assuming you have a lot of Columbia balls in the bag and whatnot. But where does this kind of fit for you? What balls would you put right around this for you currently in your bag?
So this would be my biggest ball in my bag that I have right now. I actually just drilled up a Paragon, track
Mm,
Paragon,
very good.
and we drilled this one to be a little bit cleaner through the fronts compared to my Speed because I didn't want to have two balls kind of doing the same thing. They're both
Mhm.
asymmetrical, but I wanted to do something different. So we made my track Paragon just to be a little bit cleaner through the fronts.
Okay. And Track Paragon, obviously, we reviewed that a couple weeks back. It's been a really, just a phenomenal piece and a release. And I think the biggest differences I see out of the Paragon versus the Speed. Obviously, the Paragon is a solid cover stock, so the traction is a little bit different. And I think that's what's so great when we have this kind of seven brands. Each brand in itself has its own arsenal, top to bottom. But what I like is it seems like right now with the stuff that's coming out, we still take into consideration that these kind of blend from one brand to the next. So mixing in a Paragon with a Columbia Speed, and then you mentioned a 3D offset from Hammer, which is a really special pearl ball, but not quite as much pearlescent in it, so it gives us a little bit different shape. You mentioned the WebMB, which you had the 868. That was a extremely unique ball with a stretch core in it. It was asymmetric, but man, it acted like a sim, and that thing was
Yep.
clean, clean.
Yeah.
So that was a special one for a lot. For me, I really hit the crap out of that thing with a pad. Otherwise, it would have hooked in the ball return for me. But little different styles that we go. So I think it's a neat. Another question we like to ask all the time is, did you do anything to the surface of this ball? Is it box finish? I mean, what have you done so far?
So I actually have not changed the surface. I threw it right out of the box.
Okay.
The first time I threw it was on the Sports Shot League, and then I threw it the same week on that Wednesday, and then that's when I shot my 800. Which I was a little surprised that I actually used the Columbia Speed all three games on the house shot. I thought I was going to have to switch to a pearl ball maybe like towards the end of the second or the third game, but I actually was
Mhm.
able to use it all three games.
Okay. And this was is your home house? Are you born out of St. Clair as well, or no?
So my Monday night sports shot is we rotate between three different houses. So St. Clair is
Okay.
actually one of them. But my Wednesday night house shot league is actually at Bel Air.
Color. Okay. And the reason we ask that question is, obviously different houses, different surfaces, and the way they break down and stuff along those lines. Um, I think so far from the individuals that I saw throwing this ball in as we're talking through with you is we had 2 people we drilled these up for earlier in the week that had one of them put a lot more surface on it for a speed dominant player to get it to pick up a little bit more. And then we had a much more straighter individual than yourself throwing the ball that we actually brought it up on a little bit. So the first thing that we can kind of talk through here is that this ball is very receptive to surface changes. So when you're tuning that, for individuals out there thinking about, that could be on the fence, maybe some, like you're talking about, like, I don't know if asymmetrics really match up with me the best. This thing can be tuned really well. And as successful as the power torque was, we saw the same characteristics with the power torque where you threw it dull or get a little bit of lane shine going on it, and the ball still had great traction. And I think we're going to see a lot of the same similarities out of the speed, because it just fits that line perfectly. And I think they hit the nail on the head when they said it's a complement to that ball. So when you're searching for something that needs to be a little bit earlier, I think you're going to get the speed is going to be the ball of choice. From the other brands and stuff, and what else is in your bag right now? What are you liking so far, Brandi?
So the speed, I have the Track Paragon that I've been throwing a lot. I still throw my Hammer Web MB. It's always a ball that will be in my bag no matter what. Mm-hmm. The Obsession Tour, I still have that as a key piece in my bag. Yep. I actually shot back-to-back 300s with that ball in my sports shop.
You know what? Now I'm just feeling terrible about my game, Brandi, because all you talk about is 300s and 800s, and I might have had a 300 broke up last night, but let's just say I didn't throw it very good in the
Okay, so that one, the Hammer Web MB I mentioned, the Brunswick Evo Pearl I drilled up. Trying to think what else. I still throw the Melee Jab Blood Red. I know it's an older ball, but I still throw that one quite a bit. And then the Damn Good Verge. That's actually one of my favorite midline balls in my bag right now. So
we may or may not have just announced a compliment to that one today as well. I don't know how busy you were today if you saw those come out, but we're here talking about the speed, but we had an announcement of 3 balls today. So Damn Good Verge Pearl is in route too. So I know a lot of individuals are really excited about that one.
I did see that, and I'm super excited about that one. Can't wait to get that one drilled.
Right. So you have obviously the PWBA season coming up, and I haven't had a chance to talk to you a ton about it, but what's your outlook for this year? Are you going to be hitting a lot of the stops? I mean, what's your plan going into the summer here? Obviously, before that, obviously with the head coach of Maryville, is your season still going?
Yes. So we are currently in the heart of our postseason right now. We actually find out tomorrow. They announced the NCAA bids. So we'll see.
That's the 4 p.m. one?
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll see if we get a bid. If we do not, then we made ITC Nationals in Addison, Illinois. So that is April 20th through the 24th, I believe. So that would be our for sure last tournament of the year. So we still got another month left.
Another month, which gives you roughly 2.5 weeks if you're planning on hitting stop number 1 in Illinois, which I would probably assume may be on the radar, being that proximity to where you live. So what's your plan for the 2022 season?
Yeah, so I am right now for sure bowling the first 3 stops. So Rockford, the Queens, because it's in Addison, so it's not very far away.
Minnesota, right?
What'd you say?
I think Minnesota's the 3rd one, right?
Yep, Minnesota's the 3rd one. So then I had to look back on my schedule. I actually started planning it last week, trying to figure out flights, rental cars, what I can drive to. So I'm still in the process of figuring that out. But my goal is to attend all of them as long as it does not affect like my recruiting schedule with my current job.
Right, because I mean, right in the 3 weeks that you would have off in between the one leg of the tour and obviously the second leg down in the Dallas area, that's junior gold. So I mean, from a coaching perspective, that's a busy time of year for you.
Yes.
And how many years have you been head coach of Maryville now?
This is the start of my 6th year. So I started the program back in 2015.
Wow. Goes by quick, huh?
Yeah. I honestly cannot believe it. I mean, the kids, my past student athletes that I've graduated, I'm like, wow, you're going to be 24 this year. This just does not seem right.
I think I saw the other day that, I haven't seen her forever, but I saw Tennille had put a thing up because she's coaching, and she says, I don't coach, for the wins and stuff. I coach for wedding invitations. So,
Yep.
with 6 years into the program there, and your girls getting to that age, you're probably going to be in that boat as well. So you're going to have to juggle, going to some weddings around your bowling schedule as well.
So funny you say that. I actually had a girl, one of my student athletes got married last November. So I was invited to that one. And then another one of mine is getting married this September that I'm invited to.
Yeah. You're going to have a busy schedule.
I know.
So you've been doing it for 5 years. So obviously, with Junior Gold being in, July, just, how, from a coaching perspective, I love to talk, we're here to talk about the speed, but I love when we have coaches on and some guests and stuff and kind of learn a little bit, and I think we get a lot of parents and youth and stuff that are on here listening. So when you're at Junior Gold, right, and you're there looking at recruits and stuff, I mean, what's one thing they should know? Coaches are kind of, what are they looking for when you go to Junior Gold?
I think the big thing for me is their character. I watch how they perform on the lanes. I watch how they interact with their fellow ladies that they're bowling with, their parents, their personal coaches. I kind of try to get a feel for all of that. And then obviously, I look at their fundamentals and little things like that. But I think character is a big thing for me.
That's, I could reach through and hug you for that comment, because we literally just started our junior ambassador program here, and we've through this we've taken on 12 kids per se this year, various ages, and Carrie and myself had just had their first camp here at the training center. And one of the big things we obviously talked about with the parents present is the do's and don'ts and what college coaches are really looking for. And we spend a lot of time talking about their professionalism, how they carry themselves, how they are they coachable. And I look right at the parents, and I told the parents, and I said, they're also looking at the parents to make sure they're not going to be a problem, because parents can definitely ruin their kids' chances from going to colleges based on, maybe being a little overbearing or reliant too much on the adults. So you heard it from a coach. So my junior staffers that are on here and hearing this, that's right from a collegiate coach, what they're looking for. So take it from a grain of salt, and what can help you get to that level. 5-6 years into a collegiate program, I mean, did you really dream at this point the success that your program would even be having as well?
So honestly, I don't know. I thought it would take maybe a couple more years to maybe get where we are right now. But I mean, we're ranked in the Division I through Division III poll in the top 25. I mean, we have a chance at a national bid. We've made the ITC Nationals 2 years in a row. I mean, this program has come a long way in this short amount of time, and I couldn't be pleased. I couldn't be any more pleased about it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, what does a typical day look like for your collegiate athletes? So, in the thick of the season, preparation, practices.
Yeah, so I'll run through today, for example. So they have workouts. So today I break them up in two groups. So there was a group today that workouts at 10 a.m. And then afterwards, they went straight to study tables for an hour and a half. Then we have team practice from 3:30 to 5:30. And then you throw in classes from 8 a.m. till by the time practice starts. Or if someone has a class, they'll come right after class to come to practice. So it's an 8 to 5. It's an 8 to 5 job Monday through Friday.
Yeah, and it's just a huge commitment. And the reason I pry these questions is just to support the fact of what individuals and these kids that are trying to build their scholarship dollars up and get into good schools, one, for education, and then secondary for the programs to help excel at their game. It is a commitment. So the more the youth out there understands what they can do to prepare for the collegiate experience, the better off they're going to be when they get there. And from the training and treating yourself like athletes, I think is one of the biggest things that I always try to press on my end too. Obviously you just said, they have their workouts. I mean, It's no different than playing volleyball or football. I mean, there's a difference between being in shape and bowling shape. Some people think bowling shapes is beer guts and stuff like that. But that's the game of the old that I may have grown up watching for myself, but it's changed. And I think as the game evolves and individuals become more athletic, and you see a different type of game than it was in years past.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, I mean, especially high schoolers, if you become an NCAA athlete, I mean, we compete Friday through Sunday. From kids wake up at 7 a.m. and they're at the bowling alley till 4:30, 5 o'clock. I mean, every day. So they're long hours, and my kids don't sit, they stand. So when they're bowling, there's no sitting.
Well, that's preparing them too, because you don't sit when you compete. So that's long damn compete, right? So you got to get them ready somehow. But and I don't know that this is about the kids, but as questions come through, I do try to monitor here. But Brandon's asking, for you personally, Brandi, what do you work on during your practice sessions?
So each practice is a little bit different. I would say, for example, I haven't honestly practiced as much as I should be right now, just because I'm focusing on my college kids and I bowl league twice a week. But when I do go in and practice, I kind of work on one thing at a time. So for example, like today, my girls worked on spares. Every Tuesday is spare day. So we know right away we're focusing on our spares, whether that be every spare out there. If we need to make certain adjustments, whatever it may be, each practice is different.
Yeah, I think it's good. How about, and I know this is when we talk about journaling, notes. What's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, so the girls, they do have notes in regards to like their equipment. So they will have, what's in their bag. Is it asymmetrical? Is it symmetrical? Where does it fit in their lineup? I mean, we do classroom sessions at the bowling alley during practices. So we kind of talk about all that stuff, and they have notebooks that they can take notes in if they would like. So that's what we use. We use our notebooks for. And honestly, the past couple of years that I've been coaching my girls, I assign them a book every year, and we read it together as a team. And we each girl is assigned a chapter. They go over the chapter, and we kind of discuss what we got out of it and how we can bring it forth to our program.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's not one that I've done with a book, but I mean, utilizing lesson plans and things like that. And the reason I'm prying all these questions, Brandi, is I think it's super critical to, as she's teaching this to her program, this was something that was, essentially taught to you. And, as you went through the collegiate thing yourself, and you probably acquired some of those things and added to those when you got your own program and went from there. But when you're hearing all this, it's because it's adding up the equation to what got Brandi to being the player she is as well. So, for the youth that's on the feed here listening to this, from what year did you start bowling, Brandi? Has this been something you've done since you were a little girl, or?
Yeah. So my dad, I think it was 3 years old.
Okay. So very young. And what point did you start getting serious about it, or, realize that you just have a love for the sport?
So it was around high school. Middle school, I would bowl leagues on Wednesdays and Saturdays. But it wasn't high school. Actually, my high school didn't have a bowling program. So I would continue to bowl leagues. I would bowl outside tournaments when I wasn't participating in other sports during high school. But it was around my junior year, my guidance counselor was like, did you know that colleges offer bowling? And I had no idea, because my plan was to play basketball in college. That's what I was going to do. And then when I found out that certain colleges offered bowling, he was like, let's sit down and let's do some searching and see, what schools offer it, academically, what do you want to major in? And we kind of sat down and looked at it. And my dad actually put together a portfolio and sent it off to some coaches. And and then I met Gary White, and I really loved the campus. I loved his coaching style, and ended up signing my life away 4 years later.
Isn't that the truth? But I think one of the benefits, though, from the female side of it, though, is there is scholarships available out there. A little harder to come by with the guys side of it, with the differences between the NCAA and non. A lot of, the guys out there have to do a little bit more almost academically or get a little bit of assistance in different grants and stuff. But there's a lot of opportunities out there for females in this sport. And, lucky for you, when you finally got out of college, the PWBA was back. So you have a platform that you had to, kind of look forward next. So those opportunities are there. You just got to take it. And for anybody that's kind of on the fence about it, there's a testament to the ways you could do it. Didn't even know about it, but kind of fell in love with the game and look where you're at now.
Yep.
One of the questions I would ask you, and Vinny, I got your questions there. I'll answer them in a minute, but I like to ask this to everybody. So as you get ready to go into the tour season, what are your goals? What is driving you? What is your desire? What is your goal for 2022 for yourself?
I would say, obviously, I want to win a title. I think that's everyone's goal that goes out on tour, is to win their first title. But honestly, just going out there and be able to compete and making cuts and, personally make little goals for myself. Like, okay, this is what I would like to average, or, I would want my spare percentage to be this. I kind of go over goals that I do with my girls that I want to achieve. And I go from there. But, most importantly, I'm going out there and having fun as well, because the tour was shut down for how many years now, and it came back up in 2015. So it's an honor that we even have this, and I'm very thankful that we do. So I'm just cherishing every moment that I have out there, whether I do make cuts or I don't. I'm just happy to be out there.
Yeah, and I think if you appreciate it in that manner and really think about the opportunity in itself, it actually helps in a way to put you more at ease when you're competing, right? Because you remember that you're not pressing. Obviously, I'm not saying you don't want to excel out there, right? You want to make cuts, you want to win a title. That stuff would be great, but you also have a career outside of that as well. So it's not, you're still going to get to eat tomorrow, whether you cash or not. Obviously, you're filing a dream, and I think you're more than capable, obviously, of getting one. 2 runner-up and finishes, and I know I don't think you haven't really bowled full season yet, I don't believe, correct? Have you had a year where you hit everything?
My first 2 years, I hit everything. And then I don't want to say backed away a little bit, but a lot of my friends were getting married. I was in weddings, so I attended a lot of that stuff, and, recruiting events or like other personal things that came up. But one of my goals this year is to try and hit everything that I can, as long as it doesn't affect my my job.
Good. And I'm going to see at a few of those events, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Whoops, I put the wrong one up here. I'm sorry, Vinny. So Vinny, I'll answer your question here. And anybody that has layout questions or something like that. So I'll give you a little background. Brandi, Vinny has a very unique style. He's actually from New Jersey. He is a mechanic, just bowled 800 recently, but he throws a wicked backup ball. He really gets on it with backup ball. But Vinny, answer your question. There isn't anything wrong with liking a pin down layout over, pin-up layouts. Again, when you're working with your pro shop guy, which yours happens to be John Fury, a close friend of ours, they're going to work closely with you, whether it's yourself, whether it's Brandi, whether it's somebody was doing some work for me, to understand your ball motion. So you heard Brandi say earlier that essentially she likes some of the smoother balls and the symmetrics and the layouts she was choosing to kind of get them to match up to the way she sees it. So what you're seeing, Vinny, is, with that wicked backup ball of yours and having plenty of friction there where your bowling is those pin down balls tend to slow the transition of the ball down a little bit and give you more of a rounded shape. So all that really means is that the roundness of the ball coming off the pattern matches up to your style better. I also know, Vinny, that you've shared with me that you like a lot of the older stuff, so the old 3D offsets and nails and stuff like that. So those balls and those cover stocks being older and not as aggressive make the balls smoother. They're not as wild coming off the pattern. So the fact that you like the pin down layouts, it actually makes a lot of sense. Do you have a favorite layout, Brandi? Do you have one that sticks in your head? Do you have like a stock one you use? Or are you somebody that likes to use a whole bunch of different ones?
So that's a good question. So a lot of my stuff I find to be over my ring finger. I actually don't think I have the last pin down ball I think I threw was my Ramen Pearl. I think that was the last pin down ball I have, but everything has been over my ring finger. That's just, I don't know, it just seems to work out well for me. And I trust my ball driller, Kenny. So whatever he thinks needs to happen, he gets it done.
Yep. Hey, you have to be comfortable with the individuals you're working with. That is so critical when you're working with any pro shop professional, because again, working together, explaining your likes and dislikes, that's critical because, bowling balls are an investment, right? Whether you're a sponsored athlete or you're not. Brandy's using your tools like you would use a golf club when you're going out to a different pattern. She's changing accordingly to what matches up. So, I talk to clients all the time, and we talk about this on the program. I'm a big proponent as well of not using tons and tons of different layouts. We figure out one or two main layouts for a player, whether it be a girl that's out on tour or one of the guys. We use one or two pretty much main ones because we let the arsenals that the ball manufacturers are building do what they're supposed to do. It makes the transition from ball to ball easier. It's not guessing where you have too many numbers going different ways and then you get overlaps, and it gets a little convoluted with everything that's going on. So it kind of sounds like you're in the same boat, been over the ring. Nothing wrong with that. Use the finger method if you have to. You kind of know where you like it at. So,
Yep.
And then we'll just surface from there.
Yep.
We have here Jacinda. Do you feel more pressure to succeed being a female coach?
Honestly, I don't, and I actually never thought of it like that. I've never had anyone ask me that question, and honestly, no, I don't.
That was an easy response. The answer is no. I do not feel it. We got one coming. I don't know who this is.
Oh gosh, who could that be?
Yeah, whatever. What's one common goal that you share with your college girls?
Oh, that's a good one. We talk about goals all the time. We set goals at the beginning of the year. What we want to achieve for our program, and statistically, what do we want to achieve for little things to get us to, the big stage. But honestly, like the one thing I share with them that bowling is just, and maybe this is just me, bowling is just bowling. It's not the end of the world. If you don't make a cut, or, if we don't win a tournament, it's not all about wins and losses at the end of the day. I mean, yes, it's great to win, but
Sure.
At the same time, I mean, you're out there doing something you love. So as long as you're having fun and doing something you love, and you think you're achieving that goal, then that's great.
Good. Very good answer. I like that because, again, league, sometimes you see people get so frustrated and worked up, and at the end of the day, I'm saying to myself, it's just league, right? It's just bowling. At the end of the day, it's bowling. It's a sport. It's something we love to do, but again, it's not going to change when you wake up tomorrow and how you attack the next day, right? You learn from the bad times, you learn from the good times, and you mesh it all together, and you're still going to have highs and lows. It's ebb and flow. It's never just going to be upward trend at all times. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yep.
Gosh, 33 minutes in. We get on these programs, and sometimes we get rolling and talking, and I lose track of time. So I won't let it go too long. I promise, Brandi.
Oh, you're fine.
And I don't know if Brandi has any of these in her bag. So if not, Dave, I can answer that. Do you have a Trailblazer or a Collision? Have you drilled any of those?
I don't, but I actually am about to request to get a Collision before the tour starts. So I have not drilled any of those yet.
Right. So your question there, Dave, and I think where you're going at with this is all three of those are hybrids. Okay. So you have, the Trailblazer and the Collision, and now the Speed. So, the speed comparison to those two, the Speed is going to be earlier. The Speed's going to have more traction and a bigger footprint in the middle part of the lane. The Collision is, it's going to be a little cleaner and a little quicker off friction, just kind of the texture of the ball. And the Trailblazer is more rounded, but it's still a smoother piece. That cover on that ball is kind of unique. So you're going to get between all three of them, if I was to put them in order, because we like to talk about bowling front to back, the Speed out of these, even though it's, it's clean, it's going to be the earliest of those three. Then it's going to go Trailblazer, and then it's going to go Collision. So I think that's a good one to add to the bag. I actually just brought one in as well, kind of the same intention, Brandi. I didn't get holes in it yet either, because almost though what you're saying right now, it's all about your girls right now, and you don't spend a lot of time on yourself. Well, that's the pro shop life, right? Everybody else first, and then we laughed last night. I drilled a defender for myself that I threw last night. And they're like, "Oh, did you just drill today?" I said, "Well, technically, I started it 2 weeks ago. So I drilled the thumb hole, I epoxied it in, and then it sat there for 2 weeks until I got finger holes in it. And then I put the grips in yesterday. So then I threw it. So that's how it goes." This one's kind of long-winded, and I'll probably answer this quick. So Ben was pissed about ball testing behind curtains. What's your opinion on this and going to be done for the ladies' tour? Jim, I don't think so. I don't think you'll see this in the ladies' tour. So I think there's a lot of, unfortunately, social media is a tough one. Everybody thought that he refused his balls getting tested before he could bowl today. It wasn't a requirement to bowl. It was a study they were doing where they took some individuals off of a list and were trying to do a study, but it was behind a closed curtain. So it, everybody's yelling transparency, blah, blah, blah. I don't think you're going to see that on the women's tour. I don't know whether they're looking for softness and things like that, but I will tell you on the women's tour, urethane is a lot less prevalent. Rev rates are a lot different. I'm not saying it's not thrown. It is. They just break the lanes down a lot differently. So I don't think it's as big of an issue. So I don't think you're going to be seeing that. Oh, here's a good one for you, Brandi. I don't know. This is becoming more prevalent, but do you have any two-handers on your team?
Currently, no, I do not. But there are a couple that I've been keeping my eye on. So, but no, currently I do not have any two-handers on my team.
And it's always a topic of conversation. So do you think there'll be any two-handers in the PWBA? Now, we do know there are some two-handers. I know there's one out of Sweden for sure. I can't think of the gal's name. But we've seen a handful of two-handers, I believe, at a few majors on the women's side. I don't think we've seen any real mainstays yet. Unless there's somebody.
Not that I can recall. I know there's actually a young lady who is from the St. Louis area. I've seen her bowl a couple of like the local tournaments. But that's about the extent that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, do I think there's personally going to be some on the PWBA? I think at some point, sure. I mean, obviously, with ever-changing oil patterns and things like that, rev rate becomes something that's, it's desired. And, if a girl feels athletically that gives her an advantage to go out and do it on tour, that's what they're going to do. And, they're going to adapt to what they feel is the right thing to do for the environment. Do I think the women's tour needs rev rate and two-handed to be successful? No, because I think the one thing I really like about the PWBA tour is I feel like there's such a variety of winners. So since the ladies tour came back, we've seen players that higher rev rates. We've seen straighter players. We've seen tweeners, people that spin the ball a little bit. There's just so many different styles that seem to be able to, in that environment, excel. There's not one right or wrong style. There's not all two-handers are overpowering everybody. And I think that's what makes me kind of love watching the women's game, because I will pick on the guys right now. I would love to work with the women any day of the week over you guys, because the women hit what they're looking at. Okay? So when we ask them to hit a target, it makes the ball changes a lot easier, because we actually can anticipate and not just overpower it. So, yeah, I'm going to get roasted for that comment, but it's okay.
That's all right.
Take one or two more here. Appreciate everything you do for the sport, sharing knowledge and helping others grow the game. He's obviously talking to you. Now, I know Mike really well. It's the same. It's for anything. I know it's the first time you got to come on the program, but it's always fun getting the feedback that we get from the locals around here and the people that watch these broadcasts. And, we get questions coming in pretty much daily afterwards, because if they didn't catch the feed live, we try and answer them, afterwards, and get different perspectives and different mindsets from people on, their experiences. And, again, we usually start the program talking about a ball, and it usually goes into 50 other questions about the individual and kind of, what their desires and what they bring to the table. So I think it's a good perspective having another female coach on the show here. It's like Mike, and we'll take maybe one or two more questions here, gang. We want to respect everybody's time here. Brady's got her tied up for 40 minutes here, and she probably just got home for the day. So what do we got here, Mike? Why do you think there is more diversity in top players in the PWBA as opposed to the PBA? Rev rate. I mean, if you want my opinion, but Brandi, go ahead. You got some thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, you were literally about to say, you said what I was about to say. I was going to say rev rate as well.
Yeah. And look, I never come on here and talk about controversial things or things like that, but people ask my opinion sometimes on like two-handed bowling or, what my thoughts are and stuff. And I'm here to tell you, like, I'm not a hater of the two-handed bowling style. I'm not. And they asked me, why. So when you're asking about diversity, I think why you see the same individuals winning each and every week, for the most part in the PWBA tour, it's rev rate related, but it's the environment in which they're bowling on. Okay, so on the way that they're applying oil to the lanes and what they're using as standard patterns are promoting a particular style more than others. Okay, so if you have a lower rev rate, it is a lot harder to win at that level. It's a lot harder to consistently be in the top echelon at that level unless you can make shapes with your hand past the tracer down lane. Okay, and what I mean by that is, whether it's two-handed or somebody that has a 600 rev rate, us mere mortals can't make our bowling ball do that down lane. And the patterns that are designed and that they're bowling on is promoting that style. That's why, unfortunately, we see some of the straighter players or traditional players retiring or only bowling the senior events and things along those lines. So if you ask my actual opinion, and it won't get me in trouble for saying it, I think everything is chasing the wrong direction, trying to regulate balls so much and taking weight holes away. It's only promoting one style more than other. If we want to truly not dial technology in the game back, what we really need to do is regulate the oil patterns. If you don't want to see so much urethane, you don't want to see so much abrasives being used, we need to take the oil off the lanes, gang. There's too much oil. They're bowling on 35 mils of oil at the Masters this week. 35 mils.
I don't think I've ever
seen one. They only have one burn. Yeah, they had one burn. I think, and it's high volume. It could be, I think most of it's to 20 feet, a lot of 2-2s. But again, you hear the words like speed bump, or it's really accelerators making the ball go quicker. If you start regulating the patterns, people are not going to migrate to using so much surface. They're not going to migrate to urethane bowling balls to play the front of the lane to get away from the accelerators, down lane, that are making the ball speed up and not hook. If you change the environment and you regulate that, which should be done, I think you will see more diversity on the guy side, and match more closely to what we see on the women's side. And I think the women's side, why you have so many different types of winners again, is because the rev rates are lower for the most part. There's a lot shot makers. I think the girls stay in the same part of the lane longer together, makes it anybody's game to win. Okay. And on the guys tour, it's who can get left the fastest. It's just, you asked my opinion, you got one for a change. I'm not going to hold back on that one, but unfortunately we don't make the rules for USBC. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen from that standpoint, but hopefully we see something with oil restrictions to start dialing us back a little bit and see some different winners out there and some of our childhood heroes getting back to those shot making days. So any other ones that are on here, Brandi, that are worth hitting here? Seniors hit what they're looking at. Some seniors, Rick. The more you hit what you're looking at there, Spinner, it's okay. What else? Would you recommend a heavier ball for more hook? Does the weight of a bowling ball? No. Not recommending a heavier ball for more hook. That doesn't equate to the same way. Honestly, you want to pick a weight that is comfortable to you, when it's fit for your hand, that you have less muscling. So something that you can handle nicely to have a nice, fluid, even swing, and proper ball fit is huge. So Brandi had said, I'm sorry, I didn't hear his name, but her, she obviously trusts her shop guy. She excels. Her hand comes out of the ball, releases cleanly. That's way more important. She could do that with a 13-pound ball if that's what she wants to do it with. whatever you can, repeat and is comfortable for you. But no, the heavier ball does not hit the pins any harder. There's no difference for that either. It's not going to make it hook more. Whew. I feel like I've been talking forever, Brandi.
Oh, no,
is there
you're
something
good.
that I didn't ask you, or something that you wanted to talk about, whether it was the speed or anything along those lines?
What are you most excited about this summer? Because obviously you're going to be out on tour with us. So what are you looking forward to?
So yeah, this is all kind of transpired. I know, it'll be myself and Mike Wolf. Didn't really publicize it too much yet. I mean, we're gonna do that here down the road. And I think the most exciting thing for me, and as you know, I did some repping back, actually when the tour first came back, for Brunswick. And I think I get more satisfaction at this point in my career helping others succeed. So whether it's in the shop side, whether it's you girls out on the tour, I think the exciting part for me is to get back in there and really truly try to help each and every lady follow their dream and their goal, and understand them from a player and a coach perspective of what makes them tick. So I haven't had a chance to work closely with you, Brandi, but obviously as we get into this, it's important, all too well as a coach, you don't have any one particular player that learns the exact same way or sees the lane the exact same way or what they like as terms of feedback. And I think the thing that gets me going is I feel like it's a challenge sometimes to match up and really mesh with each and every individual, even though they're so vastly different. We're going to win some titles this year. We are going to win some titles this year. And there's nothing cooler, whether it's your first one, whether you have 20 of them, doesn't matter, is seeing the individual hoist the trophy and letting that emotion at that point come out. That's like the pinnacle of any sport to me. You feel like you just won as well, right? Like It doesn't matter. You're part of it. It's just awesome to see the elation on people's faces. So that's my goal. My goal is I want to, I don't want to say it's a shorter season, but I want to see one of our girls win 50% of the shows, and I want one of our girls to win the tour championship.
I think that's a good goal.
It's lofty, but you might be the one who wins the tour championship. You might be talking to her ahead of time.
That would be pretty awesome. But I definitely think it's achievable.
It is achievable. You just have to go in with the right mindset, and whether it's a good or bad day, you got to be better than yesterday. That's it. That's what we live by.
I would agree.
But I think it's probably the perfect time to kind of wrap it up for the night. I think the questions are starting to slowly dwindle down. But I really, really do appreciate you, giving us the time and jumping on the feed here and spending a little time talking a little bit about bowling balls and kind of your journey, a little bit about the coaching perspective. And by all means, love to have you back on again in the future. Hopefully the next time I have you on is right in the beginning of May, and we're doing an interview because you just won in Illinois, right? You won,
that would be awesome.
You won Queens. I think it'd be an awesome thing to kind of follow up there. But I really am looking forward to working with you, throughout the rest of this year. And, good luck tomorrow with the selection of the continuation for your program there. And regardless of that, sounds like you still have nationals no matter what. So we'll be watching along following Maryville. And until then, Brandi, again, I appreciate your time and glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a blast, and I look forward to hopefully coming back on, and maybe it's with a title win.
Yeah, we're just going to make it happen. That's the end of the day. We're going to make this happen. All right. We're calling it right now. Brandi is bringing home a title in 2022 on the PWBA Tour. You heard it here first.
I like it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for your time tonight, and we'll see y'all next Tuesday. Have a good night.
Bye.